The Dingers podcast is on the air. I'm your host, Mitch. I'm here with my boys, Jeff and Kevin. It's been a little bit, but we're back hitting the off-season MLB talk and Chicago Cubs talk. Today was a big day in Chicago Cubs world. The official announcement of Craig Counsell as the Cubs' new manager. Yeah, let's start there. What are we initial thoughts of the whole press conference? We'll start with diving into that. So, Jeff, one, do we like this hire of Craig Counsell? Just short, quick take, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper into it. Do you like the hire?
I do. It was a move that I wanted to see happen towards the end of the season. I just never voiced my opinion to you guys because I didn't think it would happen.
Puss.
And then it did happen. So, Kevin, what do you think?
I think court's in session. We've got our counsel. We're ready to go to the jury. We're ready to cross-examine some folks. I loved everything Ross did as a manager. Some questionable decisions, which we're going to have even with counsel, folks. That's going to happen. But all those one-run games, you're going to get a little extra out of your manager. You're going to play the little chess match. You're going to be 3 moves ahead. I love it. It reminds me of the Ricky Renteria. He did a great job, and then suddenly we get Madden. And I'm enjoying that quite a bit.
And then we got David Ross.
Yeah, I'm going to save mine because we'll dig deep into it. But yeah, I'm interested as we get in this conversation. But I want to talk a little bit about Jeffrey. I don't know if you guys have been listening for years to us. Jeffrey was like the Tin Man. He didn't have a heart. But now he has had heart surgery and he has a heart. So if this year you see Jeff now full of sensitivity and crying, it's because now the heart. So you might see him shed some tears. But Jeffrey, how are we feeling after having a little work done on the old ticker?
I feel a lot better than I thought I was going to feel at this point. I mean, even after like day 3, I felt really amazing. The worst part of it is my sternum chest it aches, it's sore. My back muscles hurt because I only sleep a certain way. But other than that, I feel fabulous. I really haven't lost a step too much with my walking. So
you look fabulous.
Thank you. I mean, I had to see my primary care physician like a day after I got home. And he said, you have incredible color for a guy that's just spent 7 hours on a table having major surgery. So, no, I got a lot to be thankful for. And I'm excited about life after I get recovered and healed up and kind of get back into working out. So,
yeah. No, we were in our prayers, and I know some of our listeners even reached out and want to make sure you're okay. So he's alive. He's ticking. He's ready to dig into some Cubs baseball, and I'm guessing he's going to shed some tears. Like now that he has a heart, he's
something in my eye.
Yeah, he's going to be. But yeah, let's dig into a little bit of David Ross and his exit, and now Craig Counsell's entering in to be the next manager of the Cubs. Craig Counsell gets a 5-year, $40 million deal. He is the highest paid manager in all of baseball, tying, I think, the record of Joe Torre, I believe, making the most or the biggest contract for a manager. So it's crazy. One, Jeff, you talked about that you thought that Ross should have been canned, but you didn't want to voice your opinion, which that's what this podcast is for, to voice your opinion.
Well, see, I was kind of thinking if I say something, it's not going to happen. So I just kept it to myself, waiting to see what would happen.
Nice.
It's just there's nothing against Dave. He did a good job. We did win a division title in a COVID shortened year with him, but we just lost a lot of one-run games that, I just thought we could have been just a little bit better and maybe made the playoffs this year and maybe tried to shake some things up in the postseason, but it didn't happen. So when Counsell wasn't, he was going to be like the big manager free agent, oh my God, wish the Cubs would get him. That was my thought.
Yeah, when that popped up that the Cubs signed, I mean, that morning I saw like, oh, Craig Counsell's going to make his decision. I was like, oh, it's probably going to be the Mets. Like, wasn't even on my radar of
No.
I don't think he was on a lot of people's radar of signing.
So our good friend Ian texted me when I was in the hospital. I think I was pretty well doped up on pharmaceutical narcotics. And I think my response was, "Are you serious, Clark? Are you fucking with me?" He goes, "No, I'm serious. The news is coming out." And he started texting me all these news outlets that were reporting it. I'm like, well, it must be real.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I heard. The like scuttlebutt that morning was like originally it was going to be what, Mets, and there was a second team. And then it was like, I quit paying attention because I got really busy at work. And then next thing I saw was Cubs. It's like, wait, what? And then I was like, no way, this has got to be somebody's joking around. So I went to Bleacher Nation, was reading there, went a couple other places, and then I saw it like actually on the like MLB app, like the push notification. And I was like, I don't think that goes out as a joke. So this has to be real.
Yeah. I mean,
that was crazy.
As far as talking about Ross, like I feel like we've, as a podcast, have been pretty like trying to see the good in what David Ross was trying to do with the Cubs. And was his in-game coaching or managerial moves the best every single time? No, like he would make some bullpen moves that I wouldn't agree with, or he would bunt in certain situations. You're like, no, I wouldn't do that there with that guy. Or certain times you'd pinch hit, like just those type of little moves. But I feel like I had Ross's back, and I feel like we as a podcast, just because I think he was really good clubhouse guy. I feel like he could manage a pretty good clubhouse and get everybody bought into the vision of what the team is trying to accomplish. And even with all the craziness, like, I mean, he went through a sell-off. He went through an almost sell-off of Hap and Contreras one year. Like, he went through some tough years of being a manager when a transition years, and still he kept the clubhouse and kept guys in almost like Hap. He made Hap into a leader. Like, he created these guys. So I feel like he could develop some guys. So I think when Ross gets another chance at managing, I think he's going to do an all right job. Now, here comes Craig Counsell. And does the manager, my question is for you guys, do you think a manager makes that big of a difference in Major League Baseball? Like, do you think the manager, compared to like other sports, like I feel like NFL, like the coach makes a huge difference. Who is calling the plays on offense and defense? Like, I feel like that's a huge deal. Basketball, I remember back in the day when there was the Bulls and they had like Phil Jackson, Tex Winters, and like design the triangle offense. And like, it was huge to have a really good coach. Now in NBA basketball, I feel like the coach isn't as important. I feel like Major League Baseball, it's where we're kind of at right now, is where the manager isn't as important, and they're getting paid as such. Like, there's a lot of managers that are barely making $1 million a year. And so, like, do we think that this managerial change of Ross to Counsell is going to, how many wins is it? Is it a plus like 3? Do you think? Is it like, what are you guys' take on that?
Well, my quick take is, like, there's still a lot of question marks in our roster going into this offseason. We kind of got to wait and see what chess pieces he has to play with before we kind of guess. And as far as a manager in baseball making a huge difference, there's a couple managers in my mind that stand out One of them is Bobby Cox. He won a lot of division titles, went to the World Series a handful of times, but only won it one time. And then there's people like Bruce Bochy, who won it every other year for like 3 years in San Fran. And then wasn't this year his first year in Texas?
Yep.
Yeah. And then there was something about a stat line that I saw during the World Series, or possibly the ALCS, where Bruce Bochy has never lost a Game 7 and Dusty Baker has never won a Game 7. I think it's about people that know how to finish. And I know there's still some question marks with Craig about if he can finish, but if you look at his 9 years spent in Milwaukee, 5 of those years he went to the postseason with no managerial experience when he started out.
And on paper, they were not the team on paper to win the division or even be close. Like they,
yeah. And I feel like Milwaukee is a small market team compared to Chicago.
Very small.
So I think we got to give him a little bit of leeway when he gets going. Yeah. Just my thought.
Yeah. I don't know. If I had to peg a number, I almost think it's like +5, +8 wins. My rationale when I'm thinking is that they have not had great hitters in Milwaukee for how many years, or great hitting lineup. They've had a couple good pieces, but then they have all these guys that are hitting well below average, and they're still in almost every game they play, and they come out on top
because they've had pitching.
And that's where I wonder, like, and I didn't care enough to look into the Milwaukee Brewers to see, was that behind him? Is it his ability to choose the right reliever for the right moment? Is it the pitching staff, the actual like pitching coach and stuff like that? I don't know, but it's exciting to see. And it's exciting to see what he's going to do with that. He's also had, a lot of those young guys come up through their system and put them into the major league role and get them confidence and get them playing. And I don't know. I think it's potentially worth quite a bit. It also sends a message to the clubhouse, and I think that's part of it too. It's like, hey, we're going all in. I mean, that's why we're all super excited right now, because it's like, oh, hey, you're not just signing a guy for the highest managerial salary ever to then turn around and make a couple piddly moves and a couple reclamation projects only. We're doing something, that has me excited.
Yeah, I think that more than anything, it sends that message. I think it's sent MLB and put MLB on notice, like, hey, the Cubs are coming. Just like the signing of, like, I don't know who mentioned, like, of Madden back in the day. Like, nothing against Rick Renteria, but like that was the right move in that time, and it kind of told everybody, hey, the Cubs are coming. And I think this kind of does the same thing. And I mean, it tells a lot of free agents that if they're looking to sign, the Cubs want to win now. If they're going to go out and make this move, which they had a decent manager in Ross. Was he the best? No. But they had a decent manager and a good guy. And for them to do this, it sends that message that we're ready to go. And I think MLB already kind of knew a little bit, like the Cubs are they have a really good minor league team. Like they got some guys, they have Dansby, they have some guys in good positions, 3 Gold Glove winners. Like, yeah, I think they're ready. And now it's just one more thing of like, no, the Cubs are going to go for it, especially in a down Central Division. And we've now taken from the champion of the division. We've kind of cut them at their ankles and kind of taken them a piece from them. Like, I think that says a lot. My biggest question with this whole Counsell signing thing is, I don't think when Ross this last year, I don't think Ross had the keys to the safe that held the pencil that wrote down the lineup cards every day. No. I don't think he had the keys to that to be able to do that. I think that was upstairs making those decisions of who's going to be in the starting lineup, who's going to be the bullpen guys. I don't think Ross had a ton of opportunity there. And I think a lot of in-game decisions, yeah, Ross maybe had the final decision, But I think that was a lot more on Andy Green. I really think they put Andy Green in there to be the guy beside Ross that knew how to maybe manage the, because Ross was new to this. Maybe that he was like in his 4th year that he got a little bit more opportunity to do that. But I think Andy Green had a little bit more power than we think. So my big question is, if we're going to sign a guy for 5 years, $40 million, does he have a key to that safe that holds the pencil that writes the lineup cards? Does Craig Counsell have all the power to make all the decisions? Because if you're paying him that much, and we're saying that a manager doesn't make that much of a difference, he better darn well have, if he's the highest paid manager in all baseball, he better have the key to that to be able to make all decisions for personnel. Don't you think?
Right.
Like, I mean,
Right.
if he's the highest
Absolutely.
paid manager and everybody thinks that he's the best, he better be able to make all the decisions for the lineup. He better make all the decisions for relief pitching and when they're coming in, when they're not. If we're trusting this guy, which I don't think Ross had that. You could just something like, even like in press conferences, like Ross, like when he got asked about lineup cards, like, I don't know. I just don't think Ross had. What were you gonna say, Kevin?
No more Eric Hosmer and DH after playing first base for how many days in a row? Like,
Yeah, like
nope.
I don't know. So with that, like, if he does get the opportunity and we can see how he manages, like, I feel like in Milwaukee, it was Counsell. I feel like their front office just let Counsell do his thing, and he did very well. Now, we look at how he uses the bullpen compared to David Ross, how David Ross uses the bullpen. The big difference there is Milwaukee Brewers have an amazing bullpen, and they've had an amazing bullpen for the last like 18 years. And you know what? You as a manager look a lot better when you
Right.
can have guys that can just throw BBs down there in the bullpen every single arm that you call on. And then even this year, you can call up a guy from AA and just trust him, and he's going to go out there and shove. So like, it makes a huge difference. So, are they going to provide and spend to give Counsell what he needs in the bullpen, and then going to get other big guys around? That'll be the biggest question. So I will say I do like the move for Counsell, because there's been a lot of times. I even remember one game this season where I felt like we were playing the Brewers, and Counsell like almost baited Ross into a change. I think it was like either a pinch hitter or something, or putting in a relief pitcher, and baited him to get exactly what he wanted, Counsell, and beat the Cubs. And I feel like, yep, Counsell was like 6 moves ahead of you, and you were still on move like 2. And Counsell said, yep, checkmate, you're done. Like, just knew how to. So that's my thing. Like, but again, like, I would love the stat of like WAR on managers. How many wins above replacement does Counsell get you over Ross? I mean, if it's 6-9, that puts us in the playoffs.
Right.
So, and then we're the Arizona Diamondbacks and making a push. So we're 1 game away from the World Series, and we're in the World Series. So
Love to see it.
So it's huge. Other Cubs talk. Let's get into first, starting with Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman opted out of his contract, which was kind of a shock, but I think I like it because it frees up more cash for the Cubs to be able to spend on free agent arms and bullpen arms. So I like that. We've had talks of that Morel is going to be playing a lot of first base in the Dominican Winter League. So we have that to talk about. And then just who we think that the Cubs are going to target during free agency. So let's start with the Stroman thing. How are we feeling about Marcus Stroman opting out of his contract? What do you think there, Jeff?
I didn't think he would, especially since he had the kind of an injury-plagued season. I thought he'd just take the money and, sit tight. Well, kind of surprising to me. Kevin?
Yeah, I'm totally with you there. I was wondering kind of what was going on, because wasn't it another 21 million for this coming season? It was kind of one of those like, are you going to go out there and get more than that? Or
yeah, I don't know who's going to pay him more than that.
Right. And
especially with
like,
the second half that he had.
The second half, and
atrocious.
Unless he's looking for like an epically like a long contract, a 5-6 year long contract instead. Like he's looking for one spot, but that doesn't seem to have meshed with his personality. Like I don't know. I don't know. I was surprised. I kind of like the Cubs messaging that's come out recently. Like, hey, we're gonna repurpose those funds elsewhere. We do have a lot of young starting pitchers, and frankly, there's a lot of starting pitchers out there potentially too. So it's kind of an area where like, okay, we wish you the best. We have a lot more options we can go to next type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like it. I like that it frees up cash for the Cubs to now go and target guys that fit a different mold, that can kind of fill out this rotation with a little bit of different pitch style. I do like that Stroman was a ground ball pitcher, and with being Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner up the middle, I think that played into the Cubs. So if they can find another guy that can get a lot of ground balls, the thing is, in the second half, he was giving up a lot of fly balls, and that was hurting the Cubs. So yeah, I mean, I'm all right with Stroman leaving. When we talk about morale, moving to first base, do you think that is just a rumor? What do we think that? I am Skakos.
I am Skokes.
Skokes agree when the morale thing rumor came out last week, maybe just let Counsell decide all the lineups instead of the higher ups. Exactly. Like I would rather them before they do all these decisions, let Counsell talk. Like let Counsell cook a little bit, like maybe Counsell can work his magic, kind of like what we worked with Madrigal at third base, and make Morale into a good third baseman. But I do see that as a good option of like, hey, we could put him at first base and he's super athletic, have some athleticism over that first base, and he can still hit bombs, and that frees up a position. Then we can focus for center field, or that's one less place where we have to spend money on. I don't know. It's kind of like, how much trust does the Cubs front office have in morale to be able to cut down strikeouts? Because if they can put him over at first base and he can just hit bombs and be athletic first baseman and pick it over there. I mean, we heard the rumor today or yesterday, the Cubs going after Ray Hoskins. Like Morel could be that in better. Like he put up good numbers last year if he could just cut down on strikeouts. So it's kind of like, what is the front office feeling? They must be trusting that Morel can. But I would love to know what Counsell, his plans for Morel, because he has to have ideas of how he's going to use that dude around on his team. So,
yeah, I like it. I mean, it shows off Morel's athleticism. I mean, he can play everywhere. And like Scott says, if Scott Hatterberg can play first base, Morel can excel at it. So, we got that. You're not wrong, Scott. I think he could definitely do that. And if it's a posturing thing and it's Cubs turning around and saying like, hey, this guy can play everywhere, does somebody want to trade for him type of thing. I mean, that's there too. I'd prefer not to trade Morel. I think he's a great piece to have on the team. But I think it gives a whole lot of options for what we can do in the future too.
I think I said on our end of the year episode that I could see them trading him for Pete Alonso. So if it's for Pete Alonso, that opens up a first base job with the Mets. And if Morel can play first base, I think the Mets would take Morel at first base. But would you make that deal for Morel for Pete Alonso?
Damn good deal. I'd make that deal.
I don't know. Alonso had kind of a down year last year, it looked like.
He still killed the Cubs and raked at Wrigley.
That's true. It's true. If you need a guy who can hit bombs in Wrigley, he's a guy that can take care of that.
82 home games or 81 home games.
Yeah. Who are some other guys that you could see the Cubs trading this offseason from the major league squad?
Madrigal.
Yep.
Had a really good season. Stocks up. Sell high.
Right. I agree. I think he showed he can handle it over at third. We know he can handle it at second. The bat plays when he's contact focused.
And when he's healthy.
And when he's healthy. I think he's a great trade piece because we have Luis Vasquez. We just the big team just put on the roster to keep him from the I'm losing the name.
From the Rule 5.
Rule 5 draft. So you got that in the back, in your back pocket. I think Miles Mastrobuoni, also another trade piece.
Just cut ties.
For what?
Yeah.
Like some soda pop in the clubhouse?
You just toss him in there to sweeten a deal. To somebody like the Padres who need to cut some cash.
Just for the namesake alone. Like it's more,
right.
He's got the name that follows him.
Yep. Yeah,
I don't want to stop because Scott just posted or in the chat, ESPN alert, Ohtani could be open to a short-term deal, 3 years, $135 million. Book it. Ooh. Cubs. Ooh. I mean, we'll get into that in a little bit, but who else could we see the Cubs trading? We got Madrigal. I think possibly Patrick Wisdom. I could see him being moved. I mean, he has some pop in his bat. I could see him going to an AL team and being a DH. I don't know how much we could get for him, but I could see that being a deal. Yeah. Anybody else that you think, yeah, I could see this deal? Do you think Ian Happ would possibly be traded?
I was actually thinking about that a little bit earlier today. That extension, I don't know if he has no trade, if he has any of that in there. Because his stock is super high right now too. And if you want to toss him in on a trade where you're getting, somebody big to fill out your outfielders, there's a lot of corner outfielders out there right now.
Ian Happ, Christopher Morel for Pete Alonso.
That's
I'm
not wrong.
Miles Mastrobuoni to carry the bats.
Oh, there you go.
He's got
pack the bags.
I could see Javier Assad just because he's like a 5th, 6th starter and he's pitched well. They could throw him in to be able to get like a Pete Alonso or get somebody. I could see that as a possible deal, or just because, I liked Assad. He pitched really, really well, but he is, especially if the Cubs go and sign two free agent pitchers, the rotation is kind of full, especially with Hendricks opting in, or the Cubs picking up the option. So, I don't know. That's where,
if we want to get wishy-washy, you throw that trade together, and then you go sign Shohei and Yamamoto, and good. Pitching staff looks real nice.
pretty good rotation. I mean, I don't think Ohtani will pitch at least for another half a year.
Right.
So, but
That's true.
him being able to swing it in Wrigley would be fun. All right, let's talk free agent signings since we've talked a little bit about Ohtani. Who do you think the Cubs' number one target should be and why? Let's start with Jeffrey.
Crap. We need a definite 1-2 guy to be, to help anchor with Justin Steele. I really think that starting pitching needs to be our focus, and who we get, I don't know. I'd love it if it was Shohei, but I'm kind of nervous about Shohei because he's kind of been oft injured. He was shut down for pitching for the second half of the season. All he did was bat.
So are you thinking more of an Aaron Nola or Blake Snell?
Yeah, Sonny Gray, somewhere like that. Somewhere in there.
See, like a Sonny Gray just doesn't do it for me. Like
No.
just like they would have to do like Sonny Gray plus Yamamoto.
And I see that people like Trevor Bauer's agent is reaching out to teams, but I think we're going to need a personal chaperone to keep him out of the clubs on the road.
Yeah, I don't think the Cubs will touch that with a 10-foot pole. I think I can see the Oakland A's. Making that deal.
Since they're going to Vegas.
I mean, that fits perfectly. Trevor Bauer in Vegas. What could go wrong? Kevin, what about you? Who's your number one?
Oh man, my number one. I think with all of our trade pieces out there, I kind of said a little bit ago, I really think Shohei's our number one. I really like that. I kind of want a longer term contract because I know he's not going to pitch next year, which goes against a lot of other things. Yeah, there's a lot of, we just came out of the Hayward long term contract.
And you could backload that contract so that you
could. But that has to do also with, I'll bring that up later. But because I really like the Shohei, you bring in a lot of those fans across the pond. A lot of folks are going to be watching, going to bring a lot of money into the organization. So a lot of jerseys. I really like Shohei. And you can move some other pieces to accommodate.
So I'll match your Shohei and I'll go Yamamoto.
You should see my card. It's like Shohei, Yamamoto. Couldn't decide between the two.
We're going to go all Team Japan. I mean, they've dominated the World Baseball Classic. Why not just bring the whole bunch over here and put a Cubs uniform on them? Get Seiya, Ohtani, Yamamoto. We will be like what those players would do to the Cubs as far as a bankroll, because you're getting a fan base that would now have a team, not just MLB, like a team to focus on and buy all their merchandise, buy all the subscriptions to Marquee Sports Network to stream all their games. Like they would invest heavily. Japan fans would invest heavily into the Chicago Cubs organization. And they're all really good players. They're going to make the Cubs better. You put Ohtani, Yamamoto in the rotation with Steele, like that would be a great 1-2-3 punch. I would like to see Ohtani. If we don't get him, I think it would be all right. But I do think we need to get like one or two dudes. Like we need to get two. It just as far as pitching, we need to get two dudes. So who put this out? I saw this the other day of who would we rather. I'm not gonna be able to find it. It was would we rather trade for Juan Soto and get Yamamoto and a relief pitcher, or would rather get Ohtani, Pete Alonso, and Bellinger?
Wow.
Those are potent
Wow.
combinations.
It is.
I don't know.
Do we have the money for that?
Supposedly they're opening up the piggy bank.
Or are we just writing checks just because there's checks in the book?
I mean, I think we can go and get.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them signing Yamamoto, getting either Bellinger or Ohtani,
Mm-hmm.
and then making a trade for a Pete Alonso. Or maybe their focus is going to be third base and they sign Justin Turner and they're moving Morel over to first. And then you have Morel at first, Turner at third. So that kind of shores up the corners. But I still don't like that because it's like what hurt us all this year was not having solid corner pieces. And you come back and it's like, yeah, Justin Turner's good. Does he do it for me? Not really. He's getting older and he's only there's going to be a year when he's going to go down. But then you see like other guys in there.
He's going to have to cut his hair, man.
You see Evan Longoria still putting it together for Arizona. Like, maybe Turner could do that too. Like, I don't know. He did have a decent year this last year. I don't know. I would like to see them shore up the corners in the infield. But like you said earlier, Jeff, like the Cubs have some holes. They have relief pitching holes that was huge and obvious towards the end of the season last year that they need to fill. They have corner infielders and they have some starting pitching. And it's how can they spread that money around to be able to shore up those holes enough. And I mean, yeah, it doesn't factor into the luxury tax of like, but Counsell's money is on the books. It doesn't go against the luxury tax. Like that's just roster, but it's still in the budget, like how much money the Cubs have. They still do have to pay the man and it comes out somewhere. So like if that could be a relief arm, you know, the money that they spent on Counsell when they could have got a guy. I was listening to John Boy today and they had a really funny thing of like, you're going to take our manager and we're just going to go managerless. You know what? Like, we're not going to spend any money on a manager and we'll see if we can still beat you guys. And because we'll show you how much a manager doesn't mean to an organization. Which I thought was funny, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, that $8 million could be a relief pitcher. I mean, I still like the signing of Counsell, but yeah, you have to think about those things. They only have so much money to spend before you're like the Padres and you're taking out loans and having to pay them back. And yeah, I don't know. I do want the Cubs to spend. I think they're going to spend big, and I would love to see them get 2 pitchers and get one other big guy, whether that's re-signing Bellinger as one of the big 2 or making a trade for somebody because they have one of the best minor leagues. Let's use it. But I would rather them, I'm almost at the point where I would rather them sign free agents during the offseason and use our minor leaguers to trade in season.
It's true.
But then at the same time, I know that the value of trade in season for minor league talent isn't as high as it has been in past years.
That's true. That's a good point. So like a dream situation scenario I was thinking through earlier today, I was looking at Shohei and I was like, I think that's my guy. And I was looking at trade targets and I was like, you know, the Angels could use some minor league talent. The Angels could use maybe some guys right on the cusp. Do you think they'd trade Mike Trout?
Ooh. Yes. Just do it.
Sell the farm and nosedive.
Well, they just, oh, man, that would be awesome.
It would be. I don't know how you would pull that deal off, but that was
Angels.
It was
We'll show you how to win with Shohei and Trout. Just
Right.
come over here. We'll show you how it's done. That would be awesome. Now it's got me going. That
right. It's a weird one. Or another trade I was looking at was you'd have to deal with the White Sox, but can you get Dylan Cease from them?
No, they ain't gonna give him
Nah.
back to us. I could see it. I mean, we've been after, or rumors have been out there that we've been after Tyler Glass now forever. I could see that being a possibility. I don't know what it would take to get him, but then that would mean that their money could go to position players in free agency rather than getting two arms. I do know Jake is high on Aaron Nola. I'm not as high on Aaron Nola. I'd rather get Yamamoto, but that's just me. I don't want anything to do with Blake Schnell. I don't know.
Yeah. Scott C brought up Jordan Montgomery as an option.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun because then we could shove him in the Cardinals' face.
Yep. Then we took one from the Brewers and we got one from the Cardinals.
Here we go.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh, let's go through. Who do we think the free agents are going to sign with? Okay, I'm going to say names, and you're going to tell me a team. All right, we're going to start. Cody Bellinger.
I don't know. I want to say Cubs, but I don't know.
Minnesota Twins.
I'm going to say New York Yankees. I think the short porch it
plays well
in the Yankee Stadium. I think he would look good in a Yankee uniform. We've already heard that it's going to be Yankees or Cubs. I think he would fit really well in Yankee Stadium. Judge could move over to right, put him in center. They got a young team. Yeah, I could see that. Blake Schnell.
I think I don't know, Dodgers?
San Francisco.
Yeah. I'm going to go Red Sox.
Ooh.
I think he's going to go to
the East Coast.
Yep. All right. Jordan Montgomery.
For some reason, I think the Devil's going to get its deal back and he's going to end up with the Cardinals. I don't know why. I always...
Baltimore Orioles.
That's what I was going to say. The Orioles. I could see the Orioles, young team. They go and get not the top guy, not the top pitcher out there, but a good, solid dude that can shove. That's what I was going to say. The Orioles. I like that one, Jeffrey. Good job. How do you? Thinking alike. Clayton Kershaw.
The couch.
I think he ends up back with the Dodgers for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, he's going to be a Dodger. He can't switch now.
Right?
You've been there too long.
That's like a Madison It's like Madison Bumgarner with the Diamondbacks. That just doesn't look right. Doesn't look right. Jamer Candelario.
Oh man. Some reason I heard his name earlier today and I thought Marlins.
Marlins.
I don't know why, but
Cleveland Indians.
Okay. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think he fits into that team very, very well with the Diamondbacks.
I can see
Longoria, maybe. I think Longoria's contract was up. I could see him going the Diamondbacks, and they're young. They've already done really well last year. I could see him going there, and them winning the West next year. Marcus Stroman.
Seattle Mariners.
Ooh, interesting. See, and I was thinking East Coast. Like I don't know, like the Red Sox or the Blue Jays. Back with the Jays.
I was gonna say either Houston or Arizona.
Okay.
Trey Turner.
He's a free agent.
Or not Trey Turner. Sorry.
Did
Justin
you mean
Turner.
Justin Turner?
Not Trey Turner. Ha! Justin Turner.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Trey Turner was a free agent last offseason.
Yep.
Justin Turner.
Who do the Dodgers have at third base?
He's not going back to LA.
No, he's not going back to LA.
No, that's true. Angels.
Angels.
I'm saying if Jammer Candelario doesn't go to the Indians, that's where Justin Turner's going.
Okay. So the Cleveland's getting a third baseman, is what you're saying?
I think so.
I think the Cubs are going to sign him for on a cheap deal.
He's gonna have to cut his hair, man. I don't want to see that long red shit. Trim the hedge.
No, he'll look like you if you cut.
He looks like
grew your hair out.
He looks like Teen Wolf. That's what he looks like.
He looks like Bleacher Jeff.
Yeah.
Just a hat on.
All right, Chapman.
That's. I do not know. That's where I don't know what other teams need third base.
I feel like Chapman is going to sign a deal, like kind of like what he did last year. He signs with like the Royals, and then gets traded. I feel like he's going to sign with like
The
a
White
bad
Sox.
team, and then halfway through the year get traded to a playoff contender. So that's like, yeah, probably the White Sox. He'll go to the White Sox, and then they'll trade for him. Roy Hoskins.
What position?
First, well, he's first base. DH maybe.
Yeah. Who do the Rays have at first base? I don't know. I'll say the Rays.
I'm gonna go with the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh,
With Votto being a space open, I could see them getting Hoskins. Like that'd be another power bat in their lineup. Yeah. All right, that does for most of them. Yamamoto. Who do you think Yamamoto is gonna go?
Chicago.
Cubs.
Okay, and then Shohei.
Cubs.
Who I think or who I want?
Who do you think?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah, Cubs.
I think Shohei is gonna be a Dodger.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be a Dodger. I do. But
LA.
all right. Yep, LA. Yeah. I mean the off season is just starting to cook, and it's already been a lot of fun, a lot more action this year as a Cubs fan than we've had in a couple years. I know last year was fun with getting Swanson, but we had to wait a little bit. Like I think that was more in like December. We're already getting like moves now, and already a lot of rumor mill is already going, and so it's fun. We'll be back frequently, trying to connect with the Cubs on Tap guys as well to do a couple episodes together. If you're not checking out Cubs on Tap, make sure that you are checking out those guys, that you're subscribing to the On Tap Sports Network YouTube channel. Dude, we've just got over 1,000 subscribers. It's the best place where you can listen to all your favorite Chicago sports podcasts. So make sure you're subscribed to On Tap Sports Network, and make sure that you're going to ontapsportsnetwork.com, where you can get all the articles about our Cubs. We've been pumping out the articles about all the rumor mill, about Craig Counsell joining, Ohtani rumors. So make sure you're up to date and following us there, and follow us on Twitter, because that's where we interact with most of our listeners and fans, or X, whatever it is. I'm also like refused to call it anything but Twitter. So make sure you're following us there. So thanks for listening. It's been fun. It was fun kind of see the Cubs doing stuff early and often here this offseason. So we'll get into it more once the winter meetings hit and Cubs make a plethora of signings like they are in trades. So it's gonna be a fun offseason. And guys, it's just getting started. This is like the fun excitement when like the Cubs signed Manny. You knew good things were gonna come. And that's what it kind of feels like right now. Good things are coming. It's gonna be a fun offseason leading into a fun 2024 Chicago Cubs season. So thanks for listening, and go Cubs.
Oh yeah.
Go Cubs.